It's been a long time since I've made any videos on my channel, but with the quarantine and everything, I recently bought Mountain Blade 2. Never had any experience with Mountain Blade 1, so this is kind of all new to me. But there was one piece of information when I was looking on YouTube and other places that was kind of hard to find, and I wasn't finding the answer I wanted. And that basically came down to when you get to the point where you own castles or cities, um, how to quickly recruit garrison troops and fill your cities in case of a siege. So I'm to the point where I'm clan tier 4 or 5. Obviously, the further you are and the bigger your party is, the easier it is going to be to recruit troops. All you want to do is, so I have 7 companions here, and you can make them, of course, governors, have their own party. So what you do is you take some of your companions, start their own party. Now you can give them troops to start with, or you can just send them out by themselves. Either way, sometimes I'll give them like 15 recruits and 5 archers or something just to start them out. But what they'll do, so there I started one party. Now I can have up to 4 because I'm level 4. If you're only level 3, you're only going to be able to have 3 parties and so on there. So the easier way to get a lot of troops is if you have a higher clan tier. So I sent out Krager the Shark. I've sent out Soren Longknife's party. Now they're going to run around and recruit troops from surrounding areas. Right now they were both in my party, so they're leaving from Dathma. I'll actually see them just take off. But Soren, she can recruit up to 83, well 82 including herself. Kuroga 83 plus M. So you'll see here, right here is Soren Longknife, right here is the Shark. As you just let this play out, see he already picked up 2 troops from Alosia. These guys are just going to run around to surrounding areas and grab troops, recruit troops, and level them up and get XP. So first things first, send a couple of your companions out on their own parties. Now I will say I'm to the point where money and food is no issue for me anymore. I mean, a while back got over $1 million or dinars in food. I mean, I have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 food at all times. So that's not really an issue. So send your groups out, and while they're going to get you fresh recruits, you can put your more experienced troops in one of your cities or castles for the time being, and scoop up a bunch of different recruits and nomads, and you can be training better garrison troops while your parties are acquiring new troops. And I always recommend going out with maybe 10 to 15 less than you can actually, your army capacity. That way while you're running around you can just recruit prisoners. So I always recommend keeping about half your prisoner level and about 10 less than your party. This way while you're running around leveling up these recruits, you'll slowly be getting more experienced troops, like, you know, put that guy in there and I have 1 extra Imperial infantry. I don't really do looters as much, simply because I don't have the perk to convert them to Imperial infantry yet. I think that requires like the disciplinarian perk or whatever. So at this point money's no issue, food's no issue. I'll just run around for a while, mainly attacking mountain bandits and looters. I don't really go after the forest bandits since they're ranged attack, and I don't really go after the steppe units since they're hard to catch, basically. And you're trying to level up infantry. So most of these guys I'm going to end up sending them down this tier to make Imperial Veteran Infantrymen. I will take about 25% of them and turn them into archers, also for the garrison, or crossbowmen, one of the two. These Kuzat nomads, since I'm backed by the Kuzats, I joined their faction, and that's my backstory kind of. I do slowly train lancers and horse archers, but I generally end up with more than what I need. So I kind of stick to some of those guys in the garrison. So recruited these two parties at Dathma. Now they're just going to go off in whatever random direction they want. So if they're picking up troops in this area, they're probably going to have a bunch of Vlandian troops. My other cities is I own this Jokeres Castle and Myzia. Sometimes I'll send them from there, and they'll get a bunch of Imperial troops down here, or they'll go down here and pick up a bunch of Azerai troops. So you don't really have much of an option on what kind of troops your parties pick up. They just kind of go in random directions. The one thing about this tactic is it is a bit dangerous if you're on the permanent hero death or permanent companion death, because there are times I send out a bunch of parties to start recruiting troops, and 2 or 3 times my companion ends up getting kidnapped, or they partake in a battle that is a large battle and their army gets wiped and they get kidnapped. So you got to be careful there. If you're on permanent companion death, you may end up losing companions with this method, so it's probably not recommended that way. However, on my playthrough, everything is set to easy and realistic, and I don't have permanent companion death, so it's not really an issue with me. But now if I just check my clan, you check your parties right here. Already, Soren has picked up 10 troops, and Kroger has picked up 4 troops. And that's barely even. That's from me walking from Diathma to here. So you can just let them go. Here's a group of 22 leaders. And while they're accruing troops, you can be upgrading the troops that they pick up. Now, I see a lot of things online saying if you try to auto-resolve with looters and stuff, you won't take casualties, and that your guys will never take casualties and whatnot, and that's just not true. When I send troops, a lot of times, if I have this type of army composition where 80% of my troops are level 1 or level 2 tier troops where they're needing to be upgraded, I end up losing 4 or 5 every time, so I always recommend just playing it out. It takes a little bit longer, of course, but it's fun anyways, so that's not much of an issue.
Soldier! Archer, move!
Now, if you are upgrading troops, like I always carry about 20% horse cav, 20% ranged cav or archer cav, and then the rest infantry and archers kind of split up evenly.
Infantry!
But if I'm trying to get these infantry to level up, they need to be the ones getting the kills. So I'm going to go ahead and leave my horse archers and cav back. That's more of an insurance policy than anything else. Most of the time when you're taking on looter parties, it's probably best to go ahead and at least outnumber them 2 to 1, just so you're not worried about casualties. Right there's who's that? Nomad.
Infantry!
And if you really want to eradicate them, you can just kill them yourself or use your horse cav to clean them up if you really want. For some reason I can't miss right now. Oh, there we go. There's a shot I miss. Okay. So you see right there, I've got 7 upgrades, and it's going to be my nomads and recruits for the most part. I've got a travel warrior down here that upgraded as well. Looters, I don't really take them as prisoners at this point. You can sell them for a small value, but like I said, money is not a real issue for me anymore. So my parties are still out there recruiting troops, up to 15, up to 5. Like I said, sometimes it's super quick, sometimes it's not. Best thing to do is once you send them off is to just do something else to preoccupy your time, whether or not it's help your faction with the current wars that are going on, defending your own castles, or in my case, I'm prioritizing all my time to basically take my recruits that my parties get and upgrade them. So all I'm doing is waiting until Soren and Kroger get close to 80, even maybe when they have 60. You'll click disband party, and basically they'll walk to the nearest castle or city that you own. And just all their troops will go into the garrison, and your companion will sit and wait at the bar. Let's see here. So like within my faction, I really only own 2 castles and 2 cities. Right now you can see my garrison defenders is way higher than the average location. Everyone's got about 50 to 150, and here in my cities 205, 129, 319, 339. Now that's just your garrison troops. That's not including the militia that's already there to defend it. Now I had about 150 troops in each of my 3 locations. I just recently got Atron Castle and Diathma back. I had to retake it. I had about 150 troops here, and the Nords, or the blue team here, Valandians I think, or Sturgians, one of the 2, they came down with an army of 1,600, and I had 150 troops in there, and no matter how many times I played it, there's just no way to beat out the 1,600 troops versus the 450 I had or whatever it was. So what I ended up having to do is quickly get in there, grab all my best troops that I didn't want to lose, and leave, and I pretty much had to sacrifice Dathma until I could take it back later. But now that I got it back, now I'm just filling as much as I can troops in every place. So you're just going to go around, upgrade the troops you can. And while you're walking around, like I said, it really helps if you grab 10, 15 less than what you can actually carry, because along the way you'll just pick up these free recruits. And now this might not be really troops you necessarily want to work with in your army, but they can easily be stuck into garrisons and become really easy extra troops for free, basically. Now another tip I've heard people say is like, so I have 47 recruits here, 24 here, 4 of them are ready to upgrade to. I've heard that the larger group of people, if I wait to upgrade like 20 of these guys at a time, they actually gain XP faster because they have like some shared XP within a group. I don't know if that's true, but it does seem to work a little bit better. So rather than every battle I come in here and upgrade 4 guys at a time, I'll wait till this number gets about 20 and maybe this number about 10 before I upgrade them. And it just seems to go a little quicker that way. Now one thing that's kind of made this all work for me, as you can see, is the Khuzaits. We've taken a lot of territory. When I joined these guys, they owned maybe 8 less cities than we do now, because I've kind of helped them. We've had a war in the south with Azrai. We fought both Empire factions quite a bit, and we fought these, I think these are Sturgians, I forget. Yeah, Sturgia. So I fought with these guys quite a bit over Varnarvapol and Diathma. So I'm in a constant state of war. Right now is actually kind of peacetime. The only place we're fighting with is the last place of the Empire here. But as you run around, try to get as many looters as possible to upgrade your boys. We can check on the party again. They're only to 15 and 14, and I already had the prince out there grabbing troops for me from an earlier save. Right here you can actually see my party is riding by me. If you want to save time, you can do the auto-resolve battling. The real time consumer is upgrading your troops. You just don't want a garrison with 350 troops and 250 of them are tier 1 recruits. They're just not going to bode very well in a defense. So I'm just doing my due diligence and trying to actually get some decent troops as a garrison. So I'll just keep doing a couple of looter battles. Like I said, when you're dealing with the earliest tier 1 troops, it's kind of best to just fight looters because they stand the best chance, and they still, you can upgrade them to tier 3 troops pretty quick by doing this. And I feel a lot better about having my castles filled with tier 3 troops than I do tier 1. Now the only thing about this, I'm to the point, like I said, where money and food doesn't matter. So it's best to get as many workshops as you can early on. Usually at 15 grand a pop, it's not super easy. It's right there, 5 more melee troops upgraded, or can be upgraded. We'll kind of makes this all possible is having as many workshops as you can. As you see, I have 5. There's plenty of guides on where to buy workshops and what's best, but I had to find out the hard way that if you own a workshop in a faction that declares war on your faction, you lose that. So basically, I picked all the cities that were safest that were owned by my own faction. So basically, all my workshops are here, 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 because this was all our original territory, and I just banked on us not losing it. That way, if I were to buy a workshop at like Carrion or whatever, and these guys declare war and they take like Carrion, I would lose that workshop. So I basically bought all my workshops in the safest possible cities that were less prone to being taken. That way, you get back your 15 grand investment, and it's a lot safer, I guess. So now I'm up to 8, 3 upgrades here, 1 here, 1 here. I'll probably wait to try to maybe double these numbers before I upgrade them. But while we're doing that, like I said, the shark and the long knife chick I have, they're both grabbing as many troops as they can. Now, I try to avoid ever attacking forest bandits, like I said, because if you're upgrading recruits, they're generally all melee and
Footman, move forward!
generally all melee, and you'll probably take quite a few more casualties. So in this case,
Footman,
you could maybe grab your horse
me!
archers or your cav that you have as insurance
forward! Move! Move!
and actually get them involved in the battle. I don't like to do that because you won't get as much
Footman, kill them
XP
all!
for your regular troops that you're trying to actually upgrade. But when you're fighting looters, like I have an army of 120 or so, you know, I'll fight looter armies up to 80. It's just the more looters there are, the more involved I get with myself or my cav to make sure that my troops survive, basically. So right there, I did take a loss,
Give them hell!
but some of my hero recruits are still getting kills, which is important. Just took another loss right there. Want to avoid that as much as possible. It's not a huge deal. You're gonna break a few eggs to make this omelet, and they really only got wounded, so it's not a huge deal. But right there, I got 12. It's just that little battle. I got 12 upgradable troops. So now we're getting to some decent numbers. So my actual army would be all like tier 5, 6, and 7 troops, and would be the right composition of archers, infantry, cav, horse, or archer cav. But now I'm at a pretty good number to where I think I'm going to go ahead and upgrade, and I'm going to do about 7 more archers, 10 more infantry here. The Kuzats, I turn them all into horse archers, although they do have the infantry line there too. I'm just going to turn those guys into berserkers. So when you're training, it's nice to have about 40% experienced troops to back up your recruits in case anything goes wrong, or in case you need to deploy cav or horse archers to make sure you don't lose the lot of recruits. So there's the basic tactic to upgrading the troops that your parties are going to provide. Because now you can leave these parties, your clan parties, out, and they will fill up with troops, and they'll get XP, they'll fight looters, they'll partake in battles and all that, and they'll slowly level their guys up. But generally what I do is I will just wait till they get all to 40 to 80 troops, and then I'll disband them all. So now if I go disband, once it disbands, it merges into a nearby clan or the nearest settlement. So yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want to do that. So this is just an example. I would wait till they got more troops, but now all 3 of my companions are heading to my nearest castle settlement or my nearest city settlement, and they're gonna put 17 troops in the garrison, 19 troops in the garrison, and 29 in the garrison. So you can just wait, see which one they go to. Sorry, right there, the shark, he's gonna go straight to Atreon Castle, was the closest. So he'll go there. Now if I check my... You can check where they're at here in your members tab, companions, staying at Myzia. So she fled to Myzia, my closest city there. He went to Joguri's Castle, which is right next to Myzia. And he went to Atreon Castle, which is right in front of me here. So basically those 80 troops got dispersed between 3 different locations. I could check party tab that once they make it there, they'll disband the party. And what you can actually do without even going and checking on which garrison they went to, you can actually just put them right back into a party without ever talking to them. I'm not even in the same location as these 3. And they'll just go back out and do the same thing again. So they're all leaving alone. They're going to go pick up troops. And now you see Kroger the Shark is leaving Atreon. And now when I go to Atreon, manage my garrison. Now there was probably 20 less troops than there is now. Generally they're just going to grab recruits. I don't know, I have peasants in here. I wouldn't normally have peasants in there. But he probably grabbed like 16 recruits. And he might have got a few of them to level 2. Or you might have got a few of them to an archer level or something. And then what you do is you just take your recruits out here, pull them into your party. And then you go out and train them. So it's just really a cycle of me training them and my parties recruiting them. Because you can run around personally and just go to all these cities and grab them, but that's just going to be a slow process. You're buying them and you're recruiting them and you're only one party, and I'm trying to provide garrison for 4 different locations. So I find it easiest to have them grab the new recruits and I constantly train them because I have more control over them. They'll have less casualties. I can make sure my infantry are the one doing the fighting so they get upgraded quicker. This is of course easier when I'm not at war or at risk of losing any of my settlements. Because like I said, for the most part, we're in a revolving war with every faction that's touching us. So this is the most peaceful it's been in a long time. But then you can slowly fill up your troops. And if you don't send them out on a party right away, they'll just be waiting in the tavern, or they'll be waiting up here. You just click on them and take them back to your party. Now this guy happens to be managing my castle, but that's one way to put them back in your party if you need to. So that's the best method I've found for getting a lot of troops quickly and upgrading them quickly. See, over time I can just get these free troops. Now I would normally not use hillmen. I would normally not use like some of these militia troops that don't really have much of a upgrade tier. I normally wouldn't use looters either, but if I'm just trying to fluff my castle up, I can do that. One thing is, when you go to send parties out, don't try to go and recruit troops behind them, because all these places are going to be empty of recruits, because your guy's just going to bounce off all these cities to pick up momentum until he can finally start attacking people. So Diathema is my city that's most at risk. Go to the keep. I never used to use this, but if you go to the dungeon and manage prisoners, you can actually store prisoners in here. So, I mean, how I made my $1 million was simply joining a faction, going to war, and then fighting, capturing troops, and selling their leaders back, because you can just make tons of money selling named leaders. But you can store prisoners in there. You know, some of these guys, I'm at 46 out of 77. I just like some wiggle room to always be able to pick up more troops if I need to. But you can, you know, let's say you didn't have any prisoners, you could store them in here, and later when you're running around, you can grab these 58 recruits and just slowly convert them to your army and stick them in the garrison for upgrade later. And then, like I said, maybe keep about 30-40%, you know, veteran troops or troops that are decent, That way, in case anything goes wrong, you don't just lose 100 recruits and then have about 60-80% recruits that you're slowly upgrading. And then you can just rotate them. If I'm satisfied with this guy only getting to level 3, stick him in the castle. You know, I want a little less horsemen on the map because I'm just using them as insurance. Stick him in the castle. This 3 is good enough. This 2 is good enough. You know, it's whatever you feel is. I usually try to get everyone to level 3 at least in my garrisons. That way they're pretty solid. But then you're just creating pools of experienced troops in each of your cities that are not only sitting there defending you, but at the same time, if you were to get decimated, you could just go borrow from their pool. So I'll just sit here and fast forward for a while. You see I make about 5,500. I was making anywhere from 4 to 7 grand depending on how well my workshops are doing. And that's one important thing, is I'm not really ever worrying about food or money because I'm just constantly making money. I haven't really messed with the trade caravans. I think they're a little bit more of a risky investment compared to workshops that you just kind of buy and leave alone. You just got to look up some workshop guides to tell you what type of workshops you want in each city. So I'm just letting things play out for a second. And you'll see now that these guys have gone from 1 to 40 troops in that short time. It doesn't really take that long for them. I mean, I could go between my castles and they already have 40, 50 troops apiece. So that's an easy way to get recruits in mass to put in your garrisons. Now, if I really wanted experienced troops and I was doing other things, like I'm at war with another country, I'm sieging, I got my best army out doing stuff, you can just leave your parties. You leave your parties together, you don't have to disband them, and they will slowly get XP and upgrade their troops. But I found it easiest, like I said, just to wait till they reach a good amount of troops, disband them, they'll bring all those fresh recruits to that castle, and then you upgrade them slowly over time. Just kind of rotate your troops into castles until you've got a pretty experienced garrison with each. But I can disband them again. Disband them again. Now I can have 3 extra parties besides my main army, and that's because I'm clan tier 4. Like I said, if you're clan tier 3, you're only going to have 3 parties, which in reality, you know, you could really only get about 90 plus 85 troops at a time. For me, since I can send out 3 parties, I can get roughly 240 troops, which usually is more like 180. I usually pull them all back about 60 troops, because you do run the risk, like I said, of them getting captured, them getting killed, them joining an attacking army somewhere and getting decimated. So that's why I like to just disband them quickly. That and the turnaround's much quicker. I mean, I can get 500 recruits in the time it takes me to get 200 level 2 troops from my parties, so I just find it a little bit easier to do it that way. And all while you're doing this, you're grabbing every prisoner you can. You know, looters, that's kind of up to you. I don't really generally grab looters, but I guess once my garrisons are maxed out, I can just throw those troops away. So you're grabbing them. I'm still under capacity. I'll probably go back, drop 10 troops, 10, 15 of these guys, back off. Mostly all these prisoners I just recruited. And you're just back to rotating, getting XP, things like that. We'll just play it for another minute. Actually, I'll run to one of my other cities. I don't know if that's where they'll go, but now when you join the faction and you know, sometimes you don't really get the option to decide what's given to you and what's not given to you. When I played this one, they didn't really give me a whole lot. I had to spend my influence every time I helped take a castle or I took a city to make sure that I get control of it. But I do recommend trying to grab some property that's close together. Like right now, Joguri's castle and my Zia that I own are close together. They're out of combat in the middle of my faction, so I really don't have to worry about them as much. My real risk is Dathma falling or them attacking Acheron Castle, because These guys attack often, so that's my real risk right there. But trying to get them closer together helps you, go in a circle, recruiting, grabbing, all that stuff, and try to get them off the front lines if you can. Of course, with your castles, if you have a governor, it's going to help a little bit. If you have the money, make sure you double your projects. Like before, these were all 3. You're upgrading them, and give them $5,000 or whatever it is to. See, I didn't need to do that. I just threw $5,000 away, but that's right. Got $1.2 million. I know they have this trained militia here. I've never really used it. I generally do festival and games. I probably should be doing irrigation in all my cities. I notice a lot of people talking online about your troops will start to starve and their morale will go down. So I generally do festival and games for morale. Now, one little tip I heard to make sure your cities and stuff don't starve is that if you just have tons of food, sell it to its surrounding towns that are under its fiefdom or whatever. So if I go here, my fiefs, Joguri's castle has Joguri and Unalika underneath it. Myzia has Vilos, Orthra, and Samatha under there. So if my Zia says it's at negative 28 food, which right now food stocks are at negative 28 here. If I go to Vilos, Orthra, Samatha, and Myzia, and I just start selling food to them, it should rotate into the system to where they start getting food. And I haven't really experimented with that too much, but that's what people are saying online. I don't know if at this point, if this is kind of something that hasn't been taken into consideration or still a work in progress or what it is, but there is a point where people are saying if you get too large of a garrison, you'll just starve your city out, so you got to be careful of that. Like I said, I haven't personally noticed it, but I only have about 100 hours in this game so far. So I hope that helps a little bit. It's certainly a lot faster than you personally going around and grabbing recruits and bringing them back. There is a slight risk with sending your guys out there that they will get captured, but once they get captured, you just you go grab them from wherever they got captured. As long as you don't have the permadeath on for your companions, it's a pretty safe bet. Like I said, you can leave your parties out there longer, and your generals will get to that full army size, and they'll start upgrading their troops. But I find it the easiest way to reach large numbers of garrison troops is just to send them out there, let them get 50, 80 troops, disband them, they'll go to the closest castle, and then you pull those recruits out, slowly upgrade them, put them back into the garrisons. Now obviously when you disband them, they're just going to go to the closest city or faction and their city or castle, and that's not really ideal sometimes. If I'm trying to get as many troops to Diathma as possible and they're all going to Myzia, that means I personally have to take hundreds of troops up there myself, which is kind of pain in the ass, but it's still quicker than just grabbing troops from the surrounding area and putting them in there. I hope this helps someone. Like I said, I was looking out there for an answer to this and wasn't really finding anything that satisfied my question, so I figured this out, and hopefully this helps some people reach that next stage, because once I started getting cities and castles, I felt like it kind of plateaued, that I wasn't making progress. I couldn't defend them properly. I couldn't be in 4 locations at once, so really got to use your companions to your benefit in that way and send them out there and recruit troops for you. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, comment. I may be doing more Mountain Banner videos in the future. Like I said, the market is just saturated with Mountain Banner content, but I hadn't really seen this answered, so I wanted to throw this up quick. Alright, thank you.